Hello, beautiful, wonderful people. My friends, I need your help. I want to share my mission and I want our community to benefit as many people as possible. This means you should write a review. You should write a kind comment. You should consider using the share button to share this episode with one or more people who you know will be touched in their heart and want to join us in our mission to help the world and to help uplift people. Thanks for your goodness, and I really, really look forward to expanding our community together. On this episode of Inner Voice.
And I think there is something in for the people who are, oh, but I don't want to be alone. Well, what's lonelier? Being on your own, or maybe with, a dog, a friend, someone, or even on your own, truly, even if it is alone, or being hurt consistently by everyone around you. What feels lonelier?
No, don't worry about it. Okay, ready? We're going to go in.
Great.
It's your show.
It's my show. Hi, everybody. This is the No Contact Holiday Special. We're going to talk to someone very special about going no contact. And it's fantastic that Danielle Moss was able to join us because she has a personal story about no contact around the holidays that is extremely touching. Zach, I think about being LGBTQ, and there's a lot of us who are not in contact with our family any longer because of who we are.
I'm not one of them. But just because I don't want to, usurp the work that you've both done to get to that point. I'm not no contact. But the relationship is maybe not what it could be. I think I've accepted where it is, and I am actually the reason I was so excited about this episode. And let me get closer to my mic in case the gain was not what it could be. But now look at that green bar.
Gorgeous.
I'm spending Thanksgiving not at home for the first time ever, and it is job dependent, right? Because I do a lot of pet care stuff, and it's a really big time of the year for pet care. So it is a sincere excuse, that I just don't, I'm kind of beyond renting a car and going down. I'm 30 years old. I don't know. It sounds like a lot of hubbub. And so I'm beyond the hubbub, but I'm not necessarily no contact. So I am having Friendsgiving with non-blood people for the first time in my life, I think.
But that's really great. What we call chosen family. They're coming over to your house. I have holiday traditions now that I will talk about during the interview with Danielle. But, I've supplanted what a family would give me for those days and still mark them as a spiritual day. When we were at the monastery, those days were not necessarily marked as different from others. And something like a birthday wasn't even marked as a different day than others, in the sense that we had our schedule of spiritual stuff we were doing, regardless of the day. And here, living on the outside in Los Angeles, I do mark those holidays, but I do them in my own way, in a special way. So that'll be a cliffhanger for that beautiful interview. I have a few reminders for the folks. Peace is a valid holiday tradition. And you don't owe anyone your presence, especially those who've hurt you. You don't owe anyone your presence. You can choose peace instead. Choosing to go no contact isn't cruel. It can be self-compassion. It can be self-preservation. And we'll explore that today. Holiday pressure doesn't override your own healing process. And last thought I have for you, even if they don't understand, even if they don't get you, you are still valid. You're still beautiful. You are still important. And all of who you are deserves to be seen and respected. I was semi known on TikTok because I went through my no contact journey in public and shared a lot of what was going on for me. And I share even more in our interview today with Danielle Moss. Zach, tell the people who our amazing guest is.
With pleasure.
With pleasure.
Today's guest is a powerhouse creative, entrepreneur, childhood cancer advocate, and an honest voice for those who feel alone after going through trauma and abuse. Danielle Moss is the co-founder of The Every Girl and The Every Mom, and a content creator. Most recently, the voice behind the podcast Tell Me Everything. She shared her journey of grief, pediatric cancer, and has been open about toxic family dynamics with the hope of helping others feel seen. She's built a life rooted in staying true to herself, selling her half of her company, and going no contact with toxic family members to live a full life of love and meaning. She's here today to talk about what it means to opt out of harm, even when it comes in holiday wrapping paper. Please welcome Danielle Moss to the Jeffrey Marsh podcast.
Hello, beautiful. Lovely to have you here. So before we started rolling, we did a lip gloss check. If people can find the video, they ought to, because it's popping.
Oh, yeah.
But before the lip gloss check, we talked about how much we wished it was more, these are my words, not yours, how much I wish it was more socially acceptable to skip the small talk sometimes and go to the deepest part, even when just first meeting someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm about to demonstrate that. I know that you've been looking at grief recently and grieving.
I have. Yeah.
So first question, how are you doing today? What's going on?
I was better than yesterday. As you know, we actually spoke yesterday for my podcast that is about to launch. And my beautiful, beloved soulmate, my dog, Buddy, passed away after 17 years by my side on Saturday. And I will say, after talking to you yesterday, I didn't feel light, but I felt a little bit lighter. I felt a little bit of the pain lift. And I'm still sad, and that's okay. And that means that I had a great love. And I'm really trying to focus on the gratitude of that while still being very sad, but just allowing myself to feel it.
Yes. And we sort of talked about this, but we didn't get to go there totally. So I want to go there now with you. It's possible to be joyful and sad at the same time.
Oh, it is.
Joyful, sad with a hyphen.
Yeah. You can smile and feel such immense grief and longing. I can look at his photos and videos and feel so uplifted and just wish I could hold him. So it's this deep desire, and it's so sad, but also beautiful.
And what it says to me is we can be in a process of acceptance, even with difficult things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think about with you and your work and what you try to bring to the world. And we are getting together to talk about going no contact. And that's one of the most difficult things, especially around your parents, for anybody to explore. And we started our rich discussion on your pod yesterday when we were recording. And to follow up on some things that I thought were some of the most beautiful things you brought into my life, and into that discussion. The first wave is guilt. But after we look at that wave, what can be after that is a longing for the parent that never was. And so I'd like you to talk about where you are with that right now. That sort of, you talked about the longing and the joy, but that one's not a joyful longing. Or is it?
No, it's not a joyful longing. It's not. And I don't think it ever is. When you first make the decision, and mine was a little different. I didn't say I was going no contact. I just took space. But it's been 4 years. So I think she gets it. I just kind of stopped responding.
Delivered?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. something happened and she left a rather unhinged voicemail on my 39th birthday. And I, instead of spinning out and rage texting her back, I called my sister and I said, tell her I got her message and I'm glad she's okay. I met this moment of peace. And there has been sadness in there. I have 3 kids now. And of course, there are the moments of, I wish I had a mom, but I don't miss my mom. And I think it's really important to differentiate those two things because I think so much of it for those of us who endured abuse and trauma at the hands of the people that were supposed to love us unconditionally.
Mm.
There's this expectation that we are also supposed to give them, this unconditional love when they didn't give it to us because they're family. And that's what you do. And I think sometimes you have to let that go. You have to choose yourself. And in the moments of hard, because they will come up, whatever abuse you went through, you're going to feel some sort of sorrow or grief. I think the number one thing we can do is remember that we're probably missing the idea of someone that for us didn't even exist. You're grieving. So much of the grief is for the Diane Keaton and Father of the Bride, as I said yesterday, or, just the really loving mom that we didn't have.
Yeah. And it's in a way a phantom. But also, just listening to you talk, there's a profound truth because that truth lives within us. This is a Buddhist principle. The eyes with which God sees me, I see God.
Mm-hmm.
And the reverse is true. The eyes with which I see God, God sees me. In the sense that we wouldn't know to crave that unless it existed within us in a certain sense already. It is profound when we can realize that inner parent is something we can work on. Maybe not get to a place where the longing is gone,
mm-hmm.
but get to a better place where there's more healing and more integration. And so I'm really curious about this part in your personal story and your exploration with this. How does a person let go without quote unquote closure in the traditional sense or the way it's supposed to look?
It's interesting because I didn't plan it. That's just what happened. And I didn't, I should add that, so it was my 39th birthday and my daughter, this was also during COVID, and my daughter was going through her 2+ year leukemia treatment. She's doing great now. But so my daughter's on chemo. We are isolated. All I can do at this point is fully show up for her. And I had a new baby at the time. So it was just a wild ride. And I was at capacity. So I didn't have the room to battle her. And I'm sure similar to your story, if I said I was going to do that, I would have been attacked. So it was kind of, I got your message. I'm glad you're okay. And then I blocked her. I can't tell you the exact timeline. There were emails. I did so much work in therapy and things were already really strained. The last time I saw her, Margot was 3 months old. And at this point, she's, almost 2.5. So it had been a while. Like things were already, there was space, but this was I am no longer letting you attack me. And I think I didn't give her the room by blocking her. And I just did what I needed to do for me. And I think over time she, got the message. But I haven't heard from her since. And I
think part of the point is we don't know if she got the message or not. And that's not relevant now.
It's not, it's like, I think she figured out we're not speaking, I should say.
Probably after 4 years.
I think she knows.
Yeah. And what's relevant to you is how you're treating yourself. And when people talk about closure, I often get very curious because it seems to be a certain day, a certain moment, a certain instance where now we have closure and there's a new chapter in our lives. And what you're describing is this sort of piecing together this patchwork of a healing that takes time, that has seams, that is a work in progress still,
mm-hmm.
that is this beautiful artwork of your life, your timeline. And that's very different than thinking of, I'm going to do things right so that I eventually have closure, which somehow means, I'm happy and don't think about it or whatever it means to people.
Well, and also there isn't a right way to do this, is there? Well, all our stories are so unique. And I think the only right thing you can do for you is, if someone is hurting you, why are you allowing that to happen? And, when you're conditioned as a child, that's all you know. So something must be wrong with you, or you deserve it. You had it coming. And then you, like I did, end up in an abusive relationship for 10 years with someone who's verbally abusive. It becomes all you know. And then you kind of reach this point of, okay, no, this isn't right. I deserve better. And I think there is an experimentation in what that looks like. There isn't a handbook for this. So I think and there might be something that makes it easier for people in not making the grand statement of, I'm never speaking to you again. For you, it was, I'm going to try this out. And then you got the response you needed. But I think there is if you've already reached out, which if you're at this point, no one just closes a door, right? So if you're at this point, you've tried to talk through the past, you've tried to work things out, it's not working. I kind of found my way as I was doing it. And that for me worked better. I think it would have felt too hard for me. And this wasn't about her. This was about me. It would have felt too hard to make this statement. So I just took my space, and if I ever wanted to try to reach out, at some point there were emails. I don't know when, it would have been years ago. So I don't think it was after, but I tried and it didn't work. And I chose my family.
Yes. And in a way, sort of the common language is you set a boundary with her, which I think people misunderstand boundaries in the sense that I get upset that the boundary holder or boundary issuer is often blamed when the boundary doesn't work out, that they were somehow deficient in setting the boundary, when we should probably turn the focus on somebody who would steamroll boundaries, i.e. the other person. But what most people don't realize is that my parents set a boundary with me long before that we couldn't talk about my childhood, that we couldn't have frank discussions that would help me heal, that I couldn't say a darn thing that implied that she ever was not, the perfect mom, whatever those boundaries were. She was already setting them with me. And once I realized I had an unwillingness to be in relationship with someone with those boundaries, it all seemed very clean to me at that point.
Mm-hmm. I felt that too. I definitely felt that. And she had all those same boundaries lined up that stop looking at the past. You need to get over the past. Let it go. I don't recall that happening. Or, you were a very difficult child. You have no idea how hard it was having a child that's not always compliant. I have 3 children. I would like you to introduce me to one compliant child. Show me one. That's not a thing. And my kids test me all the time. That is what they were designed to do. They are learning to be little people, and it is our job to show up for them unconditionally and build them up, not tear them down. And I think it's so important that we ask ourselves why. And I don't point fingers at anyone who went through this sort of abuse, but at a certain point, if you're hurt time and time again, it's just to look at the fact that you deserve so much more, and just question why you're letting someone treat you that way. And we understand why, because that's all we know, but maybe question that you deserve so much better.
Heck yeah. You already brought up the subject that it's a one-way street. So we often as children are required to be the ones that are supportive, that are emotional, that aren't a burden, that are, nothing's going on with me, I'm fine, to have this energy that morphs around to be whatever the parent needs. And we get used to that one-way street. And as you hinted, I'm kind of tempted to ask you directly about it. But as you hinted, that can show up in our adult relationships too. We can just repeat that same sort of one-way street-ishness with people that we're romantically involved with later.
Oh, yes, we can. And we will.
Oh, yes, we can. Do you mind being specific about your ex? What kind of... Yeah.
Oh, my God. He was, and I will
I
tell
was
you,
gonna give you an example, but you're ready. Go.
for reference, and I will say that you are reclaiming the name Jeffrey for me. That is what I will tell you. Yep.
Uh-oh. Was it
I
spelled
will tell you,
E-R-Y? Because
he
those are
was
the evil Jeffries.
he was R-E-Y. So
Uh-oh.
but you know what? It wasn't
I gotta
actually
reclaim
it was actually his middle name. He went by his middle name. So
okay.
there you go. There it is. But either way,
there.
you've reclaimed the name for me. And I will tell you, because people have these relationships that end and they point fingers. I heard from his mother after I wrote a blog post, and it took me years to write this blog post on ending an abusive relationship and kind of surviving an abusive relationship. And he was very verbally abusive. And his mom wrote me a very long email. We had only met once. I actually don't even remember meeting her, which I feel really bad about. She was very nice to me, and she said she loved me dearly. And she basically just said, I believe you, and I'm so sorry.
Oh.
From his own mother. So there it is. But he, it was a lot of, we broke up so many times. He would throw all my stuff in the hall. Pack your shit, Skippy. You're not a beach girl. I always imagined myself with a beach girl. Nobody's going to want to, you're not the look I wanted. Nobody's going to want to end up with you because of who your family is. You're just not what anybody's going to want. Constantly breaking up with me, telling me I wasn't anything. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't this enough. My family wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough.
And at the same time, just to jump in, you're too much. You're too much of a burden. You're too emotional. You're too unpredictable, whatever those twos are. Mm-hmm. So it's not enough and too much. And it sounds really reminiscent of the voice in all of our heads, the self-hate we're taught. Nobody's going to love you. They're going to laugh at you. This kind of stuff that people carry as a burden their entire lives.
Well, and that's all we know. And then it becomes familiar. So then there's a part of it, as messed up as this is, that feels, saying this sounds so strange, that feels familiar, not safe because it's so unsafe, but it's what we know. And, my dad abandoned me. I made the decision to go no contact when I was 17 after he kidnapped my youngest sister and they were found in Mexico. I also didn't know she existed until after she was born. It was wild. But at that point I was like, okay, I'm out. But I also never heard from him again. So it's been like 25 years. And there's no longing there. It's very interesting. He was just a very broken man, but I didn't have a good male figure outside of my grandfather. Was very loving. But all I kind of knew was this attempt to chase love. We're constantly seeking it, begging for it, desperate for it. So then you will look for it anywhere, and you're so afraid of being alone, which this time of year can be so magnified too, can't it? And
oh, yeah, holiday edition.
Yeah. So I picked up with Buddy. We moved to Chicago. Still managed to date the guy for another year or so. And he one day called me. He came for Christmas. We got in a huge fight. He left, all of it. And it was July 3rd, like a year into me living here. And he said, I think I need space. And I was like, okay, bye. And I hung up. And I felt so free. I was like, I'm good. I'm done. But it took leaving the state and kind of giving myself that permission to live and to find my own happiness from all of them. Honestly, a big part of it was just starting over and letting myself be without all of these toxic people. And that helped a lot.
Yeah, I would absolutely use the word safe to describe the way it feels to be magnetized by your own self-hate. Meaning, when I was at the monastery, I had this overwhelming sense that I knew who I was because I was the one struggling underneath that self-hate. Meaning I'm the one who struggles to be seen, to be understood, to get it right, to on and on and on, to be the right, good, perfect person who's not a burden. Like, that's how I know who I am. And if I stop doing all of that stuff, who am I? That kind of space can feel very unsafe for people. Mm-hmm. And you went there. It sounds like a very heroic path to me, a very inspiring path.
It sounds that way, and I think
I knew you were going to argue with
no,
me.
hold on. It's not.
Well,
I'm not arguing. No, because there is bravery in leaving.
yeah.
I understand that, but it also came from a place of severe brokenness. I have never shared this, but I remember after
Mm.
another breakup, I was sitting in the garage of his apartment, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And I'm never someone who's done any sort of self-harm. And I was digging my nails into my arm. I was in so much pain. And it didn't like, I mean, it was red, but I wasn't like bleeding or anything. And I just thought like, and I remember feeling like, I don't want this life. I don't want to be this. I don't want this to be what my life is. And I reached this point of I have to do something or accept this level of, I don't even know, brokenness and hatred from the people who are supposed to love me, all of it. And I went on a trip. It was my first time flying since 9/11. I had to take a Xanax to get on the plane, but I did it. And Chicago seemed nice. And I moved. And but I did it to save myself. So, like, sure, it was a big move. It was one of those things where also I tend to just do the thing and not have a plan. I didn't think about, like, oh, here's what this will look like, or am I staying, or any of it. I had to save myself. I had to get out of there.
Yes. And I think you're trying to imply, because I'm going to fight you right back.
Sure.
This is conflict. This is drama. You're painting this picture like anybody in that situation would have done it, which I don't think is exactly
I know they wouldn't.
true.
I know they wouldn't. But I would say for me though, I didn't feel empowered until I got here. I felt really afraid and really broken the whole time. So I don't share this to be like, I picked up and moved and I found an apartment and all of those things. I remember the very first day I was here, I went for a walk. It was just me and Buddy. And I shed a few tears and I looked out at him and I was like, okay, we're home. I also had the safety of this perfect little being who gave me a sense of home and family and unconditional love when no one else did. And I truly believe, and I don't say this to downplay, there was strength in it. I don't think I would have lasted here without him. I think I would have gotten really lonely on my own. There were holidays spent, I don't want to say by myself because he was there, but in the sense of not with human family. And I always had him, and he saved me.
Thank goodness for your angel.
Yeah.
On earth. Part of what pets gift us is the chance to interact with someone who's always present. And not just present, who is always accepting. And it sounds like in Buddy's case, is always loving toward us.
Always. And pure love.
Yes.
All the time.
And what I admire most about you and your story is this sense that you're going to find this funny. Desperation is great. It's the same thing in my story too. It's like, why did I ever move to a monastery? It's like, because I had gotten to such a rock bottom, desperate place. That's why. And people are at their, sometimes at their most rock bottom this time of year, around the holidays. And you talked about having Buddy and spending holidays just you and Buddy in Chicago. And there are many times when I've now got this tradition. Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanksgiving, I walk around the city I live in. I live in Los Angeles now. And I spend basically the whole day just walking around and enjoying the city and looking, because on a holiday, the city's basically empty. And so it feels like it's mine. This is a beautiful, I get to experience how beautiful this is, and it's not so crowded.
I love that.
And on Christmas, I go eat Chinese with my husband, Jeff. And we have this new tradition that's come into the space of what used to be such a fraught, difficult time. And I don't know if it was true in your family, but in a sense, I was the black sheep, but also kind of the scapegoat in like the biblical story of a scapegoat kind of like metaphor, that the sins would go onto me, and then that you know I was like the artist and the one that wouldn't conform to the family, and so it sort of was, I was a something to talk about
Yep.
during the holidays too. And also the what people would want to put guilt on. Can you talk about memories of Hollywood? Hollywood? You can talk about memories of Hollywood if you want. Holidays with mom, when that was still
You
in your
know,
life.
I would say any family time never felt great. There was just a lot of yelling and fighting. My mom remarried my parents split when I was very young. So I have no memories of the two of them together. I was a baby. And my mom and stepdad were both pretty checked out from one another. And I would say, I mean, every family dinner, which we had dinner most nights, I would leave the table crying, like something would happen. So there's
I'm sorry,
this
every night?
piece, almost. I would get in fights with my stepdad.
Yeah.
It was complicated. My dad, so he saw me on and off when I was a kid, and my stepdad wanted to adopt me, and I actually think we could have had a really beautiful relationship, but my dad had kind of poisoned me a little bit. They're not your real family. They don't love you. You don't belong there. He found out I was calling my stepdad dad, and he was really upset. And he's like, that's like calling your dog dad. He doesn't love you. You're not their family. So that started to kind of bleed over into our home life. And no one, I was born in 1982. I don't know if we just didn't think things through back then, but no one thought, where is this coming from? Is there a reason she's upset?
Mm.
And, you know, so I think that my family, my home life, there was a lot of screaming, and all the fingers were consistently pointed at me forever. And I started, look, I wasn't very nice. I have two younger sisters from my mom and my stepdad, and I'm close with both of them now. And they actually both do talk to our mom. She knows where they stand, and I don't bring them into the middle of this, but they support me and love me. I will say that. And they're great aunts to my kids. They're wonderful people. She wasn't as awful to them as me, but I was the first child. I ruined her life. She had me at 22, and then she was stuck up with this kid, and a single mom had to marry the first decent guy that came along that would take care of us. It was all fingers pointed to me forever. So the holidays, dinners, all of it, none of it felt good. So I didn't really have anything to look back on and miss. Again, it
Mm.
was, I'm looking at movies and wishing I had that. So when I took my first, I had my first holiday season with Buddy. And I think there is something in for the people who are, oh, but I don't want to be alone. Well, what's lonelier? Being on your own, or maybe with, a dog, a friend, someone, or even on your own, truly, even if it is alone, or being hurt consistently by everyone around you. What feels lonelier? And I found a way to make my own traditions, and they were different each year. One year, it was just me and Buddy. I watched movies. Watch a Christmas movie or don't. Pretend Christmas isn't happening. Go for a walk in your city. Do whatever feels right for you. But I just needed peace. That was
Yes.
ultimately what I wanted. And, the traditions have changed as I've become a mom and had kids. And there's been kind of beauty in getting to figure out what works for me. And I have friends who are like family, and my kids have friends who they call their cousins. And we have Christmas movie nights with them and do fun crafts, and, and they have grandparents here who are loving and available and here for them. And they have cousins that live in Connecticut, so they don't get to see them all the time. But I've kind of found my own way to create what I never had in the first place. So there isn't any longing for me. And I know that's different for everyone, but if you're debating going no contact, chances are there's some pain in those memories. And I think it's good to hold on to the things that were good, but to ultimately think through, what will bring you more peace this year. And if you can, I don't know, I couldn't do it anymore.
I love you so much.
Oh, I
It's
love
really
you.
wonderful it's really wonderful to connect with you and talk to you. Your story has really touched my heart and my soul. And I thank you for the work you do and for what you put out into the world. People who are at the beginning, I remember just the thought, going no contact's an option. As the start of this incredible journey towards self-kindness, self-compassion. And you embody that journey every day. Thank you.
I try to. You do the same, so thank you.
Succeed.
No,
Yeah,
it's not,
we do it together.
but it's not always easy. And I think that's the part people see us on this end of it, right? And you found the great husband and you figured it out and you found success in business but it's still hard. And I think it's really important to remember what it took to get here for someone who's in the early stages, right? Because not everyone is here. And it's still, even here, it's not just this easy thing that comes naturally. And what you did wouldn't work for me necessarily. And what I did and what I found that works for me might not work for you. So I think it's the more we can have these conversations, because not everyone, this is not the story everyone shares. And I have heard from so many people who have these complex relationships, people with big platforms who can't talk about it. Not everyone has the ability. And, that's such a big part of why I do what I do. And I'm sure for you, why you do what you do. We have an opportunity to connect people and make them feel less alone in something that is so painful and feel so lonely. Everyone around us seems to have these, and it's never picture perfect, even if it looks like it is, but they seem to have these ideal families and the loving mother and the great dad. And it's so important to remember we only know what people show us. And there are so many people struggling. And just, going into the holidays, you are not alone in this if you are struggling right now. There are many of us, whether they're sharing it or not, who are in the exact same, not exact same, but a similar position. And if I can do anything, it's help other people feel less alone, which I know you understand because you show up and do it every single day.
I certainly do my best too. And one of the loneliest places on earth can be surrounded by family. When you're in a room surrounded by family. And if that's you, know that you're not alone. We're with you. Thanks for being a lovely human.
Thank you. Thank you for being a lovely human. Love talking to you.
What are you working on now, right this instant?
Well, this instant, I'm trying to figure out what I look like in this universe without Buddy's physical presence. I feel him here very much. So I would say that is the thing. I am working on launching my podcast, Tell Me Everything, which will be live by the time this airs. I actually just reached out to like a grief expert to do an episode with them. So I think kind of, that I've got my blog and my Substack, but I'm also just, the holidays are here and Buddy isn't physically here right now. So I'm just trying to figure out my place in everything, what makes sense, and do the good things I can along the way. I've been sharing the grief journey. This is the first time I'm, other than Margot's cancer journey, where I'm in it and kind of sharing what I'm going through in the process, because I have found that similar to going no contact, this hits everyone and no one talks about the depths of, I have heard from at least a handful of people who said, I'm ashamed to say this, but it hit me harder than losing my mom or harder than losing my dad, losing a pet. People don't want to admit it. They don't want to face they don't want to share the truth that they grieved for a year or more. So right now that feels really important. It is a departure from what I would usually be doing around the holidays, but that's where I am.
Thanks for the work you do. You're a beautiful human.
You are too. Thank you for having me here
today.
Oh my gosh, I love talking to you. As I told you, this was the
love
one
talking to you.
thing. This was like the one thing I didn't cancel this week, and it just felt so right and good. And you made me smile this week. You let me talk about Buddy. You let me share the things that matter, and that's like the best thing I can do right now. So I'm very grateful for you.
Love having you around. Come back again, please.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
What a delightful conversation and inspiring. This is why I do the podcast. Yeah, I love you all. It is also to see you. You're inspiring as well. And
it's not to see me.
Overabundance of inspiration. That was really a great conversation. What's our trivia question for today? I need it. Trivia.
I was giving space to insert the trivia. Jeffrey, according to a 2023 study in the journal Family Process, what percentage of people who went no contact with a family member
can you
said they
repeat
experienced improved mental health after
All
doing
parts.
so?
Yes.
What percentage of people who went no contact with a family member said they experienced improved mental health
98%.
after doing
what?
so? What percentage? The reason I'm smiling like a
we'll see if it's
dum
that
dum
big.
is because it's a
Later
big
in the
number.
Show, we'll find out.
It's a big number.
The real number. I tend to be the optimistimo one, and we'll find out. We get to find out later in the episode.
I spent the first half of my life feeling pretty alone. So I ended a 10-year relationship and moved across the country in search of happiness. I rebuilt my life from the ground up and then sold my half of a successful company in search of meaning. And I found it. As a content creator, I openly share my story on my blog, Substack, and Instagram. I talk about the things most people don't, because when we share those stories, the real, raw things that we go through, we feel less alone. If you're looking for real connection and unfiltered conversations about the things that we go through, tune in to Tell Me Everything with Danielle Moss every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Community question. One of my favorite segments. They're all my favorite segment. It's like having favorite X-Men characters. You know what I mean? You can't pick. Community question.
Hugh Jackman? Deadpool? Is Deadpool X-Men? No, Deadpool's not X-Men.
No, but those movies are
Sorry.
they're interesting. Where they took the universe.
They're fun. What a romp.
I love it. What's our community question?
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Is it okay to feel Let me try again.
To feel what now? To feel?
Is it okay to feel grief and relief at the same time?
Oh.
I feel so free not going to my family's Christmas, but also a little heartbroken. What do I do with that?
Yes, you love it, you express it, you embrace it, you literally get in your meditation and you feel it, you sit with it, and you feel. So we'll take what do I do about it first. Sometimes you don't do anything. My teacher at the monastery used to say it's never too late to do nothing. So that is always an option, especially with feelings, because over time, through is your answer, not figuring out how to get through. Feeling is your answer. Can you have complicated, seemingly contradictory feelings? Absolutely. Human beings do all the time. And one thing that I would encourage folks to look at is not even needing to label some feelings positive and some feelings negative. That might be where we start to get off the rails. So, grief and relief without labeling whether, we like them, don't like them, are they good, are they bad, am I a good person for having them, not having them. Instead of all the labeling, what about just exploring what it's like to be in all of those places? Oh, what? I mean, it's so funny because every single episode, I want to say that was one of the best episodes we've ever done, Zach. I guess we're lucky that we keep going, but it's fun to be able to talk about the things you're quote unquote not supposed to talk about and the things that people don't usually talk about. One thing we never got to explore was that there's a real social conditioning about quote unquote going against one's family or going against one's parents or going against an authority figure or any of that stuff. And it is heavy for a lot of people. And we brought a lightness to being able to explore these still deep topics.
I have a question before we get to the totally improvised outro that is not scripted by
Not
me or
outlined.
anybody else.
Not us.
We didn't really talk about with Danielle, how do you begin to make your own traditions? Right? We talked about the fact that you have them, that she has them. How does somebody considering no contact, especially one for whom the holidays mean a lot to them? You know, there's a great nostalgic pull. There's a lot of resistance to changing up the way things have been. How does this person start to make their own traditions? I guess it would start with mourning what used to be. I don't know. Is there a mourning process of what's not there anymore before you even rebuild?
There probably is. For most people, I was raised Christian, so for me, Christmas time and the New Year has a sense of birth and rebirth and new starts and that sort of energy to it. And yes, it's important to mourn, and it's also important to start those new traditions. You gave everyone a clue. The friends over, the community, the chosen family, the having faces that reflect who you really are and see you for who you really are. Huge part of the recipe. And then the other, tidbit I would give people is just throw things at the wall, see what sticks. Try this, try that. It took me a long time, after having been no contact, to come up with these traditions that I love so much. So get ready to refine.
Well, let me refine and throw at the wall this trivia answer. Are you prepared?
Smooth
operator. Jeffrey.
Yes.
According to a 2023 study, what percentage of people who went no contact with a family member said they experienced improved mental health after doing so? You said 98, which honest or cheeky, but
Semi.
a big number.
Both.
And it's not that big, but it is big. 76% of people who went no contact said that it was good for their mental health having done so.
3/4 plus. It's not shocking to me. I mean, I always do get a little shocked how so many people. So this is in The Body Keeps the Score. Yeah, so many people have a trauma background of one form or another. And it often stems from the way they were raised or their family or that sort of thing. And it's a really, really common thing. And the fact that you would take these steps and feel better eventually is a little bit of encouragement to folks who might be considering it, huh? I love you all. I'm so glad you're here. And I have a few reminders for you, and then I have something special to close out our episode today. Just a few things to remember from the episode itself, from this subject, from the interview. No contact is not a failure. It is a boundary, but even if other people don't respect our boundaries, that's not your personal failure. So we chuck out the self-hate when it comes to exploring this particular subject and every subject. You don't have to be jolly speaking of holidays, jolly to be whole. You don't have to be feeling any sort of up. And as we also mentioned, you don't have to be feeling, universally down either. You get to have whatever is there to feel. Let this season reflect your healing, begin to reflect your healing. And less and less over time, may we pray that it reminds us less of our harm, the harm that's been done in our lives. You get to decide who sits at your table, even if your table is just you. You know that voice in your head that I counsel you about, not invited to Friendsmas this year, not invited to Friendmica this year. Joy doesn't need permission, and neither does you choosing peace. Please close your eyes if you are able. Take in a big, big breath. And as you exhale, begin to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, your chest. Can you feel a little open-hearted as you take some of the biggest breaths of your day? Can you let yourself be free of judgment, free from the need to have any answers right now? If our episode today sparked anything for you, just see if you can sit with that without having to solve problems, without having to solve the problem of yourself, especially, and just sitting in some safe space as you explore what your future might hold. One more big breath in. Fill yourself all the way up and hold that breath. And then sigh and exhale. Open your eyes and get ready for the rest of your day. I do enjoy spending time with you, and I love you very much. Goodbye. This has been Inner Voice with Jeffrey Marsh. Today's episode was produced by Zach Latino. If you're ready to go deeper, transform your life, and experience personalized support, my one-on-one coaching sessions can be applied for at jeffreymarsh.com. Know someone perfect for Inner Voice? Send them our way. Have them visit jeffreymarsh.com to sign up for our exclusive online community, and we'll reach out if their inquiry aligns with an upcoming episode. Remember, you are worthy exactly as you are. See you next time.